This is week 8. Let's talk markets again. We're interested in what happened this week. Where are the trends located? Looking at some US dollar stuff, some euro stuff, indices, gold, New Zealand and Australian dollar, as well as the Bund for this week. Starting out with US dollar yen weekly chart as we have it right here. What we've talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago was this market having come up really heavily here. Now retracing back into the balance zone. What this means for us is that the very rapid action to the upside here is being paused, and we don't really know if we are going lower to end up much higher, or if this may fail and go to the downside. We don't know it if we just look at the weekly chart. We need an overall picture, and that's why the monthly is so important in a scenario like the US dollar yen, because on the weekly we are in the middle of a correction phase, and that correction phase doesn't really tell us anything about market structure and anything, because corrections can be very complex and you never know where you are in a correction until they are over and until you have taken the next breakout to follow the market. If we take a look at the monthly chart in the US dollar yen, it's very clear though that there was this uptrend which did not give us a divergence in here. It corrected, goes into a major correction, which we can see in the momentum indicator. We have a change in momentum from the positive to the negative side, and then price jumps back up right in the middle of the balance zone. If you had to find an average price of this time period here, this year almost, you would find the price being exactly where the balance zone shows you it is supposed to be, which is always meandering, it's always roaming around, it's never at the same space, but it's somewhere in here, somewhere where we are trading right now. So as you can see, after the initial move we just talked about on the weekly, there is no continuation for now. Price is just coming around on the monthly chart. It is after having done this uptrend, going into a correction, now turning into the direction of the previous trend, which is to the upside. Now it retraces the initial move that has taken price into the direction of the previous trend. We will probably get a fractal up here, and then it remains to be seen if the scenario that I painted in here is really the one that will unfold. Is the correction really over? Will we see the breakout to new highs? Or is this correction not over and we'll have prices continue lower, then turning and going up? But if you take a look at the monthly chart in an overall kind of picture, you can see that in here it's very tough to determine basic market structure. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please watch the How I Trend Follow video in the Trading Essentials playlist. Then there I explain the market structure issue. Here we don't really see it. We can only follow the fractals and follow price movements as fractals are broken above the balance zone, which would mean we go long, below the balance zone, which means we go short. And as the monthly chart in the US dollar yen is now trading in the middle of the balance zone, we really cannot expect anything on our weekly or even on the daily time frame to move very quickly or very stable in a certain direction, which means we have this great trend unfolding where we can add on and stuff like that. It just is not possible to happen because the price is in the middle of the balance zone on the monthly chart, and all that means is it's correcting. So we'll have to wait and see where this can go. As you can see in here, these past couple of days, or this is a couple of months actually, has not been profitable for a trend follower, because we have fractals taking, price coming back, fractal taking, price coming back, no trend really unfolding. Very tough to spot market structure in the US dollar yen as of now. Let's take a look at the US dollar index. When we also go to the monthly chart, what we can see here is the divergence that I put in a couple of months ago, weeks ago, and we had price continuing what it had been doing all along since 2014 here, trending to the upside. That's the monthly chart. On the weekly, you get a clearer picture of where you are in the uptrend, as we can see divergences on the chart. And here you have your massive uptrend. It's extended here by this flat kind of upwards movement, and then you have your major correction in this kind of time period here as the momentum oscillator goes below the zero line. It continues that the price is exceeding breakout levels to the upside. We have new highs being made right there. We have now this divergence that we have been talking about ever since we've analyzed this market, which was right in this area here. We were talking about going long. We went long. Price is coming up, but what happens is you get your retracement into the balance zone. You see that there is not enough price movement to the upside. You do not get new momentum highs. Instead, this massive divergence forms. What you actually have is a fractal inside the balance zone now, which is our stop. We entered here, either here or even earlier right there. Now we're taking profits there. Now, of course, these profits are not that big. We're gonna get stopped out next week, most likely, I think, without this coming much higher, which I kind of thought could happen. But that's the entire point. We have our opinions. We are human. We will always have opinions. But let's distinguish between having an opinion and actually applying our back-tested trading rules, because these rules are what makes the money. And in the US dollar, this becomes very clear now. The opinion was price may have an extension to the upside, but the reality will most likely be, we don't know yet, that the stop will get hit. We do have our stop location. It will get hit. We have a little bit of profit, not too much. We gave back quite a bit here in these couple of weeks that went down, but it doesn't really matter. You know, you have one trend that is running forever. You have other trends that are not. You even have losses, and the risk management really plays a huge role. Now in here, we didn't even have any add-on going. We just went long here at the breakout, and now we're taking these small profits. It doesn't even really matter in this market, as we are exiting with a profit, but we do not have any chance for add-ons or anything. So we just get out and see what the future brings. We have still going on Euro Australian. We still have Euro being of interest. This forex pair is trending lower. We have a rejection now at monthly support, not a whole lot, but let's give the market some time. I could imagine some weeks here going sideways before we see a continuation down. Don't forget Euro Australian monthly chart. You have your low right there. That's the last long-term price destination, where it was, where you find the demand. Now let's see, after the breakouts have been taken, and the next one is right around the corner. It has also been taken, by the way. We just haven't closed below it. Let's see if this market is able to move all the way down here. It would be quite a couple of pips. Let's follow it on the weekly. Let's have patience, as this market is kind of moving away. Look at these last couple of weeks here. They're really coming down. You really get your angulation, as you can call it. Let's mark this with kind of a purple line here. The market is going down like this, while the moving averages are kind of going like this, which means you have your angle in here. You have your price dropping more than the moving averages, and this kind of tells you that markets are dropping quickly or going up quickly, depending on the direction. So let's give this some time to kind of pull back a little bit to the moving averages if that happens, and then maybe we get a new fractal to sell. We are short from the breakout up here. Let's see if we can sell more as this continues to the downside. We always want to pay attention to stuff that does have a target a couple of thousand pips away, so 2,000-3,000 pips away on the weekly. You can see it on the monthly nicely as well. If you see this kind of scenario, a price in a correction mode that could possibly continue its previous trend that we can see here on the left. According to market structure, you have your trend, you have your major correction, and then a continuation of the trend, which will give you the divergence. Momentum will not be as low as prices are hitting new lows below here in this example. So let's be patient, and if this market goes, we'll be there, you know. As you can see, US dollar didn't work, so we are out. If Euro Australian works, we'll just stay in that thing. Euro Canadian also giving us a very clear possibility to move down. Same scenario as in the Euro Australian. You get your price in a sideways movement on the monthly. Here we're breaking fractals to the downside. Next target could be here, 130.50. We're now at 138, so that's 800 points. We'll open this short with a very small short entry and see how far it goes. It might as well come all the way down here long term, of course. This is almost 2000 pips, not quite. But on the weekly, we have the breakout. Why not follow that thing? You never know what happens. You never know where the market could go. Just remember that the market is nothing more than millions of traders and investors and institutions taking decisions and acting upon these decisions, and therefore the price is moving. It's not really anything else, and nobody in the whole world will ever be able to predict what the masses of millions of people are thinking, because it's emotional, it's unstable, it's irrational. Therefore, if you just follow the price, whatever the price is doing, you have your opportunity right there. Now, sometimes you have huge moves, like in the indices, which will be the next markets we're looking at, but sometimes you'll just have small stuff, even losses. But this is part of the game. You will just be available to take the opportunity the market is giving to you, and as you are taking this, the market is a thankful mechanism enough to give you these trends once in a while. We're talking maybe 40%, maybe only 35% of winners in a year out of all your trades. But the 35% or 40% will make up a lot of your losses, even more than that. And then in the end, as you can see in many hedge funds who trade the trend following approach, you have a long-term shot at success. It's not just a 1 year or 5 year kind of deal. You are in it for the long haul if you do this, what we are talking about here. So now let's take a look at the S&P. Very well. This is just awesome how this market is moving. First breakout, second breakout, and look at the momentum in this thing. Down here you have a spike actually in momentum. We're coming up pretty high compared to the first week. Again, if we come higher here in this area, in this trend in momentum compared to the first one, what it means is that it will need divergences for this overall uptrend, because on the monthly we're also rising. It will need divergences for this to end. So divergences means higher prices, but momentum not as high. However, we haven't even been at that place where we have the highest point in momentum, which could be created as we are moving higher in the coming weeks. Now, so many people are talking about this has to turn around, and the Dow has made 11 days with new all-time highs being created. It doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter how it compares to history and if this has happened before or not. This is what happens now. This is the reality of now. Have a system, follow the price, and just profit from things in the market that may have never been there before. You know, before the year 2000, with the technology boom, who knew that stocks could go up hundreds of percent in just a couple of months, in an entire sector? I mean, there was no one who wasn't making money. So what do you know what is going to happen next in the markets? And if you take a look, just the next 3 or 4 weeks continuing in the S&P, what the last 3 or 4 weeks have been, would yield or would come into a parabolic kind of movement. You have again here, just like in the Euro Australian, your price really zooming to the upside, but the moving averages really have problems following that kind of rapid momentum going to the upside. And it's exactly that that would create new momentum highs and that would send prices much, much higher. Now, who knows if that happens? Maybe we will open gap down heavily and we will see the end end game scenario that you see all over the place. People really have a problem with this market continuing higher. We don't care. We have risk management on and we'll follow the price wherever it goes. And we're really, really happy that for all of these weeks we have been trading this and it's working well. So we have added on, and depending on your add-on rules, and this is really kind of an individual deal, you can add on as the momentum keeps on rising. So FTSE, really great market here. Not FTSE, I'm sorry, S&P. Next one is the FTSE. We'll have the UK index here just in the last couple of weeks kind of going nowhere, but we're staying above the all-time high being created. Remember, we had prices coming up from the correction, hitting the all-time high level, retracing to breathe inside the balance zone, but you can see in here it's only a minor correction. Then we hit the all-time high in quite the rapid move, and this move has only been corrected a little bit. We have these kind of long weeks where we don't see prices moving anywhere, but we don't have rapid action back below the breakout zone, closing below it, coming back into the balance zone. Right now, we do see this divergence. We have momentum gaining speed right here in this area, but as you can see here, momentum is really losing steam again. And this is, of course, we have the price going sideways. But it's, as I said, not in the balance zone. It's not dropping rapidly. As we are continuing in time, we are seeing a correction here that really has a major correction characteristic. The minor correction was here. Now there could be a major correction, but it's not unfolding because price is coming down so low, but it's unfolding because price is taking so long. So we do see, in my opinion, a successful breakout in the FTSE. Even though you are not too much in profit yet, you are not seeing price in all of these weeks coming back below, sending your breakout here, your breakout long entry into the negative. So let's hold on. Hopefully you manage your risk well and don't bet everything you have on such a move. And then you'll just have it continue over time. And by the way, this is also what you see in the Nikkei index and the DAX. You do not see continuous movements to the upside as you are in a trend. Of course, in a trend, price is going to move your way, but a lot of the time, actually, while the trend is unfolding, what you really get is internal corrections, internal pullbacks, stuff like that, where the trend is not being all that thankful at the end of a trading week, for example. And if you take a look at the DAX, we have this retracement here after the fractal has been hit. But as you can see, we are in an uptrending mode. There is absolutely no reason to think that this will end tomorrow. So let's hold on to it. There can be pullbacks, absolutely, but as you know, until this thing closes in the balance zone, giving you that fractal, we're not going to change our long position. We are long from down here, we're holding it, and we're expecting new highs. 2,400 is the next target here. I don't know how long it takes, but it's most likely the next target. Now, we're not over convinced, because otherwise we would be betting 100%. But we are not overconvinced. We are respecting that the market knows much, much more than we do. But still, we have trust in our system. We have faith in this technical approach, and let's just wait. And we have time, so we wait until it's there. Interesting developments in gold. We do see gold making new highs again and again and again. And we are now above the balance zone, closing very strongly after this rapid move to the downside. So this is the last kind of 3, 4, 5 months. And I'm really expecting a fractal here somewhere in here. We might see this continue a little bit higher. I doubt it will go as high as here. But again, this is my opinion. I have no idea. I'm just saying that fractal in this area correction to the downside, and then we take this market long. As you can see here in this down move, we have the divergence coming up in the momentum indicator. We have new price lows, no new momentum lows though. Then your initial move to the upside, really strong here as it started to move on top of the balance zone, which it never did successfully in all of this time. Then we came down below it again, and now we are back up. So we failed to continue what was a previous downtrend. Here, we do not continue this previous downtrend. Otherwise, we would have new lows, but we don't. So if we get a fractal on the other side, we're going to follow that thing and take it long. Same is true, by the way, for silver. New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, to speed this up a little bit here, we have the market now trading on top of the balance zone. Remember what it did last 2 years. It came down a lot, moved into the balance zone. Now in here, we were thinking that the previous trend to the downside could be continued, but it failed. It is now trading inside the balance zone on the monthly again, which makes this a situation where long and short signals could work, because you could get a trend on the monthly moving outside the balance zone to the north or to the south. And here on the weekly chart you have your fractal to buy, and down here is your fractal to sell. So you have just 2 orders in, whichever one comes first you take, you manage your risk and then follow the market. Could be a while until they are hit, but that's the situation in the New Zealand dollar. Australian dollar, exactly the same thing. Market being caught up in this sideways movement. The previous trend direction was down. So after this went on with the divergence coming up here, you get your major correction. Momentum indicator coming above the 0 line. You get fractals being hit here in this area in the previous trend direction. So you want to take it short here because you think that this kind of trend will be continued. However, the market is telling you that this is not going to happen. You have your stop right there above the fractal. You're stopped out with a loss, and now you're doing nothing in this market. You have your order in to buy right on top of these fractals here. You have an order in to sell right there. Australian dollar exactly the same like New Zealand dollar overall. We don't look at the Bund too much in this podcast. Let's take a look at it this week. We have the Bund in a huge uptrend since 2014. And as I always tell you, a trend doesn't just end like that. You will have divergences. And these divergences appear as the market is moving, hitting the balance zone, moving, hitting the balance zone, and now probably moving to the upside again. On the weekly, this is becoming clearer. You have your move, your correction, your move, your correction, and now you have probably your move again. When we take a look at how to trade this, you have a breakout in the previous trend direction right there. So there's not really anything to ask. The trend is up, it corrects, hits a fractal in the direction of the previous trend, so you buy. And as you can see, we have a pretty strong close for the first week breaking out. So bunds and I guess interest rates in general seem to be staying where they are or even getting worse. Now, that's it for the week. Quite the long video. Hopefully you like it. Press the like button. Comment on this stuff. Thank you very much for watching again, and I see you next week.